Welcome to Obstacle Blaster with Jim Atkins. Personal, interpersonal, professional, blast through life's obstacles toward a better life. Today, the possum and the big why. Let's get started.
I love to tell the story of the night many years ago that I was taking a couple of young people home from a youth group activity. Tim, the teenager in the front passenger seat, lived a few miles out of town. This particular night was very dark. We were on a long, straight stretch of country road when up ahead I could see that some kind of slow-moving marsupial was crossing the road from right to left in my lane. On top of being slow and fairly nearsighted, the opossum, colloquially called possum, is not a very intelligent animal. But here's the thing. Regardless of how ugly and slow and stupid the animal might be, I can't stand running over any creatures that aren't looking for or making any trouble for anyone, least of all me. So I eased off the accelerator. I silently urged the little guy to keep on walking. That's right, just keep going. And Tim saw what I saw. He sat up in his seat a little bit more. Although I started to slow down, the distance was closing fast, and that was okay because the situation was looking good. This possum would keep on walking. 5 feet and he'd be home free. He just needed to make it to the other lane. I would not be running over any animals tonight. Tim placed his hands on the dashboard, perhaps anticipating that I would possibly have to slam on the brakes or swerve. But I knew that that wouldn't be necessary because, wait a second, what was the possum doing? He had stopped in mid-stride, looked in the direction of my oncoming headlights, and in a possum panic, immediately turned and started ambling back in the direction that he'd been coming from. At that moment, I had already decided that I would straddle the little guy, go over the possum, but not run him over with my tires. There was no oncoming traffic, so I'd veered ever so slightly to my left. This was a perfect plan. Perfect, that is, until Mr. Possum turned and headed back to the ditch on my right. His decision to go a different direction was his death warrant. Both tires on the right side of my car ran squarely over the poor possum. I drove on, shaking my head, saying to myself, ugh, I hate that. Short of slamming on my brakes, stopping the car and letting the animal go wherever it was that he wanted to go, I tried to avoid hitting him. I felt badly, I really did. And so we had about 10 seconds of silence, awkward silence that passed. And Tim finally looked over at me and he said, Mr. Atkins, you're an amazing driver. For a minute there, I thought that you were going to miss him. When I smiled, Tim didn't know it was because of the hilarious irony of the momentary clash of his perception of my motives versus my actual motives. Oddly, both Tim and the possum had about the same idea about me, that I was in pursuit of the possum. I thanked Tim and we continued down the road. Similarly, when I perceive money to be the thing that I ought to pursue in my life, it will in the end lead to destruction. Money is not the target. My blog features the image of an open road stretching to the horizon, unobstructed by obstacles. To ensure that life has as few obstructing obstacles as possible, I coach people who want to seek and find what I call their big why. Knowing the big why, not just knowing what you're passionate about, but why you are passionate about that thing, will fuel your passions. The more you're grounded in that knowledge, the better the quality of the why, the bigger your passion will become. Find your passion and your big why by taking the advice of P.J. McClure in his best-selling book, Flip the Switch, in which he tells readers to test their perceived passions. McClure calls it purpose, by asking themselves, why? Why do I think, and then fill in the blank, is my passion? Take the answer to that question and then ask why that is the answer. Do that several times and you'll either rule out that thing as a real passion or you'll find the big overarching why. Why you know this is the thing you're absolutely positively got to pursue. Why it is your passion. Truly, there's not really much of an intersection between money and our deepest passions. At least there shouldn't be. When money is part of what we are pursuing as some kind of partial tie-in to our passion, it becomes a distraction and becomes like an obstacle in the middle of the road. Once the big why is known and a passion is being pursued, money flows from seemingly every direction. The money takes care of itself. There's no intersection. It's a merge. The highest paid people who also happen to be happy people are those who are paid as a consequence of the fact that they know their big why and they're pursuing their passion with reckless abandon. Know your big why. See you next time.